We've been rocking since the Sandbox, man. Stop playing with my dog, Scuba Steve. He the man, got plans, bro, to give him what you need. Hot damn, from the court to the field, they elite. I'm saying why, yes, got the hot takes and loose, stay checking. Talking about all the highlights from alleys to interceptions, from tutties to dope receptions and fantasy week projections. And honestly think you gotta tune in to get the message. Let's go.
Since the Sandbox fans, today is a very exciting day. We all know what's been going on in the betting world. DraftKings is now available in Massachusetts. And very honored and privileged to welcome Matt Kalish joining me on the Sandbox today, the co-founder and president of DraftKings. Matt, thank you for taking the time. How are you doing today?
Doing great, man. How are you?
I'm doing good. Really exciting. Last night I hit a couple of bets on DraftKings, so you always wake up feeling a little bit better the next day when you come up as a winner rather than losing. But really excited to, do a deep dive. I think, it's been really cool seeing, you guys do the opt-ins to get people betting a little bit more. So I have to say I've been taking advantage of those. Been really unique to kind of get a little bit more access and, opportunity to get in some winning bets because we're not always winners, right? But I just want you to, really do a deep dive. How did DraftKings, really get started?
Yeah, it's been about 12 years now since we started DraftKings, which is kind of crazy, but there was a few really big moments that led us here. I met Jason Robbins and Paul Lieberman in corporate America. We were working at a bunch of companies in marketing, analytics, different kind of like operations jobs. The last job we had, the last pit stop was at Vistaprint, which is a local company in Lexington. And product itself, kind of boring. It's business cards, a lot of print products. But the value really of Vistaprint for us was it kind of helped us really sharpen a lot of the tools that are really necessary to be effective running a company like DraftKings, mainly digital marketing. We all were running pretty big budgets of digital marketing across, all the different social media platforms, Google search, out of home and reach channels, TV, radio. And so a lot of that performance marketing stuff that we picked up was really critical, and also just analytical foundation. All of us were big kind of data analytics, business consulting type people in our prior corporate years. So all of that stuff was really important foundation. And then the match that kind of lit off DraftKings was this idea of what if we started putting our nights and weekends towards building out a platform where you could draft every day. It's kind of the best part of fantasy, I think, has always been the draft. After the draft, it's sadness and disappointment usually for 90% of people. But the draft is like the hope and optimism. We wanted to do the draft every day for money against thousands and thousands of people. So started building a platform that let you do that. Since launching DraftKings with daily fantasy sports in 2012, the last 10, 11 years have just been a constant stream of building, improving, adding products. The biggest ones obviously being 2018 launching sports betting in the US and also concurrently iGaming, the casino product, which is now in 6 states. So definitely a lot of momentum on both product development as well as just getting in more markets, more geography over the last decade for us.
Thank you for sharing. And I know, that process of making it a reality is going to be, difficult. There's some challenges that you obviously have to overcome. And, just trying to map that out and seeing, the vision a couple of years ahead, that's always, challenging. But it's great to see, the success. And, I'm happy to kind of be a consumer of that, be a part of it. But yeah, I definitely have to, attest to what you said. I feel like every single time I do a fantasy football drafts with my friends, everyone's arguing, oh, I got the championship team. How did this guy fall to the 4th round? You guys don't know how to pick this and that, blah, blah, blah. But it is always, interesting to see, how that plays out season long. But when you guys introduce that, daily, it does give everybody that chance to be a winner every day, right? So I feel like that's really unique. But, with sports betting being legalized in many other states, why is now a great opportunity for Massachusetts to join them?
I think it's the perfect time, really. One of the questions that came up a lot as we launched in Mass. Mass is our home state. We started everything out of, Paul Lieberman's spare bedroom in Watertown, Mass. Moved towards over by the Park Street T-stop, 47 Winter Street. This tiny little office was I think we joined that office space when we had maybe 15 employees and stayed there until we had 30 to 40. Every stage that we've grown has been in Boston, and that's always been our headquarters. It is today. That's our plans going into the future as well. We've created thousands of jobs in Mass. Great relationships. So the question was like, why is Mass not faster with sports betting legislation? And I think there's a lot of benefits actually to going. It's somewhere in the first half, about the 20th state or so, 21st state. The benefits are really we've had 5 years to iron out the product, the operations. Our sports book is actually like really great to use. And I don't think we could have really said that in 2018, 2019. We didn't control our operations. We didn't control our technology as much. We had a lot of partners that were helping us. Over the last 5 years, we really brought in-house everything so that we can completely control the experience and that we can invest properly in building the best sportsbook in the country. I feel like we've been able to really achieve a lot of those goals prior to launching in Mass. So I'm much more proud to unveil what we've been working on, starting in New Jersey in 2016 and all the other states. Like, I'm much more proud to share that with my family, friends, everybody I'm close with in Mass. And I know they've also been eagerly anticipating it. So yeah, I don't think we would want to launch without a really serious product in Mass. Such a strong sports culture, very particular. I'm at every Celtics game. I know how we are. We are tough, demanding fan base, but also like nobody shares the love as much as Boston sports
Boston
fans
does.
either.
Yeah.
Like, we recognize when things are great as well, and we've had some true greatness in our city. So I didn't want to come up short there. So I'm pretty happy that we had that extra time to really iron everything out.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I think you hit it, to a T. I mean, Boston Celtics fans definitely are demanding it, and I don't think that just carries for Celtics. The Bruins are hot right now, and obviously, we're expecting, 2 championships with the Celtics and the Bruins, and obviously hoping for better play, out of the Red Sox. But how does DraftKings, plan to further expand in Boston?
Yeah, it's really like we already have tremendous roots in the city. Like, we've been working with all the local sports teams. You'll see us, I'm at every single Celtics game. You'll see us on the court. You see us all over Gillette. We have the DraftKings Sports Bar in Gillette Stadium. We've really been increasing our footprint, not just, in terms of acquiring customers digitally who use our product, but also just being more involved in the community. So I think the biggest impacts will be like more job creation in Massachusetts, more reason for us to be out and about in the city, activating, doing events, partnering with local, whether it's teams, sports related stuff, or just being a part of the culture of the city, which I don't think anybody understands better than DraftKings, given that's where we live. And I mean, I'm 41 and I've spent my entire life pretty much either in Massachusetts or southern New Hampshire. Nobody gets the culture like us. And so I think the biggest reason why we're performing so well in Mass is really that insight into like, who is the Boston sports fan really?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And yeah, it's always cool. I'm watching the Celtics games at home, or I'll watch a game, going there. And I do see you courtside, so we see you sitting there. I think it's really cool, the back and forth you have with Gary V when the Knicks are in town. I always find it, pretty comedic, between you guys and the interactions. I also saw CJ Stroud there, so that was pretty cool to see really interesting interactions for you. But what DraftKings currently is my number one, sports betting app, and I plan on that being the sports betting app for me to use, going forward. Something that I really enjoy that you guys do is the social part. I just started a betting group. Obviously, we have the Since the Sandbox podcast. So a couple of my co-hosts, a couple of my friends that listen, and just some fans of the show, we're all in that betting group, and it's funny to see how many people are firing away the bets throughout the random day. Someone's waking up at 6 a.m. and they're putting one in. It's like, wow, first thing you're doing when you start the day. I love it. But, what separates DraftKings, from competitors like FanDuel and Wynn in MGM?
Combination of a few things. Like, our technology company, it all starts with you have to actually operate a great platform that's reliable and works the way people want. Because if you're always beating your head against the wall because the app is crashing or it doesn't have the stuff you want to bet on, or when it's acting wonky, can't get money on and off easily, all the things, there's a lot of aspects to running a great sports book. It's a very deep operation, much deeper than I think a fantasy or casino operations. Lots of aspects. So That just means there's a lot of places where things could go wrong if we don't invest properly in giving a great customer experience. So no one's investing like we are. We have market leadership in every single state we're in. We make, I believe, the heaviest investments in the industry in developing our product. And I think it shows up when you're using it. Like if you compare DraftKings to the whole slate of other operators, just that you notice the difference. You notice that extra polish, the depth. It's just easier. It's just quicker to find stuff. It's not like throwing you errors all the time and crashing. You can get money in and out pretty quick and easy. Like these are the things that are, a lot of people think of them as table stakes, but it's actually not table stakes yet. There's a lot of platforms that need a lot of work. And so I'm proud at the investment that we made and the quality of our team. And then I think the biggest difference is really on the, I'd call it customer experience side. So we invest a tremendous amount in not just giving back to customers from a loyalty standpoint, like rewards, promotions, all that stuff. We're at the highest rates in the industry, and that's something we take pride on. Is if you bet $1 on DraftKings, you're getting more back than anywhere else. And so that's like number one thing, but also how we do that. I think doing it in ways where people are happy with the way they're being rewarded. And that comes from customer insight and just understanding like who our players are.
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely provides, a unique and tremendous value to, to your consumers. And that's definitely something that, I've noticed firsthand is taking a deep dive. And, I love being able to track the game right on the app too. We're just giving you like those live updates in case you want to put something in live. Last night, with the playing for the college basketball game, I had a little action, so it was really unique to kind of see that. But I also have saw that DraftKings has recently gone into NFTs, and I know that's something you're interested in. So I just want you to share incorporating that with the success of current and former athletes through Rainmakers. I just got a Rory McIlroy card, so I'm a little excited about that. But I also want to know a little bit more about it. So can you tell me a little bit more about DraftKings' presence in this field?
Yeah, for sure. Rainmakers is our latest product. We've launched, I guess I would say, 3 other major products: daily fantasy, sports betting, casino, and then Rainmakers Marketplace. This is kind of our 4th big product that we've launched in DraftKings history. The main idea is if you've ever played a game like EA Sports Ultimate Team, you open players, collect players that you want to use when you're playing, whether it's Madden or UFC, FIFA, whatever. You can kind of collect up the players you want to use in the game. You can sell or buy the ones that maybe you don't have in your collection. And then as you're playing, you can only use the people that you have in your collection. So it's a different sort of gate, than typical fantasy, which is gated on a draft or whatever. This is by owning digital assets of the players, you're able to then use them in the game, but you also control the decision to buy, sell, whatever, those same assets. If you sell it, you can't use it in the game anymore, but you might get cash that you can reinvest in other ways or whatever. And so I think it creates this really deep fantasy experience, which is like if you like collecting sports cards, if you like games like Magic the Gathering, anything that's kind of in the collector DNA. I'm massive into collecting. I have probably some of the sickest stuff. I waste, God, I shouldn't even say waste. It makes me very happy, but like the amount of time and energy I spend on my collectibles and stuff is digital, physical, whatever. It's my number one hobby by a landslide. And there's a lot of people like me out there who are like, I want whatever Rob Williams, optic black rated rookie or something, right? Like they want certain things in their collection. So I think this gives you the ability to truly own the athlete, own the asset, and it's guaranteed scarce. And over the course of time, because products like PGA, Rainmakers, UFC, NFL, whatever, a lot of these are the first time that somebody showed up in a digital asset with their sort of name, image, likeness. So if you look out ahead 5-10 years, I think there's a lot to like from a collectability standpoint, especially if you believe in the backdrop of like what if digital collectibles are a giant category in 2025 or 2030 or 2035. Like half the stuff in collectibles that's valuable now, you wouldn't have necessarily been able to predict it year one or year two, but then you fast forward 10, 20 years and now the value is kind of more clear, right? You want Bird Magic rookies, you want Jordan 86 Fleer, you want certain things, right? And so I think it kind of fit in that box for me of really appealing on the collectible side, but we wouldn't be doing any of this if it wasn't, in our core DNA of our players like to play games that are competitive where, you invest something and have a chance to win cash, right? So we were putting up meaningful cash prizes, $30 million plus in NFL season for year one of Rainmakers football, guaranteed, no fees. It just was a matter of owning the player cards, right? Same with like PGA. We're doing $13 million in this upcoming PGA season, just getting rewarded out to people holding the PGA Tour NFTs. And so it's a really interesting new category that I think we're under a year in now. We launched August, and the development that's gone into that, I think, has started to show the fruits of our labor. Like, it's an actual tangible consumer facing product that people are like using, it's living, it's breathing and getting better. And I believe personally, like Rainmakers, of everything that's gone on in the last several years, crypto, NFT space, and whatever, to me, it's the highest quality project that emerged from the last 3 years in the space. Like, as you just see one thing after another becoming, crypto is down, NFTs are down, PFP projects are down. I'm holding all this stuff, by the way. Like, I'm definitely very hands-on with, like, I've seen my crypto go down. I've seen my NFTs go down in value, all that. I feel like we're building a product that, like, of everything that's come along, stands on its own still, even in a super bear market that's very negative on crypto, very negative on digital collectibles. We're building something that's actually like snowballing to be more scale, more sizable, more adopted. And like what I'm most proud of is just the team that came together around that to build up a great product, and the persistence around building during a bearish market, because things don't last forever. It's very cyclical. And like, as the tides turn, you want to be in a great position with the best product out there pretty much when momentum builds again, I think, on the digital side. So that's really what we're thinking about.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I gotta say, like, I definitely do a little bit of collecting myself. I like to do a little bit more of like the jerseys. So like dating back to when I was, a kid, I always remember, going to the store on a Saturday, after one of my parents had the work week, and it was like, oh, like, Mom, Dad, can I get this jersey? Can I get this jersey? At the time, it was like Anquan Bolden in the stores, or like just a bunch of older players and things like that. But as of recently, when I was in college, I was getting the Madden Ultimate Team collectibles that would give you like a little bit of benefit when you got that and redeem the code towards your team. And I do see, a little bit more of those similarities. What I will say to add on to that is, I think it was last year when Tom Brady first retired. I think you guys did a launch on Tom Brady NFTs. I actually copped one of those, and I think I got one of the Derek Jeter ones too. I think I got his cleats or something like that. So something I'm trying to get a little bit more involved in. But I do know that it'll have its ups and downs, as we continue on into the future.
For sure. It's always good to be, at least my view on this stuff is a lot of it is macro environment and somewhat micro, but it's mostly macro environment. Like, everything kind of goes down at the same time. Everything goes up at the same time. It was very hard to not make money in 2021, for example. Like, everything was just going up. And when everything is going up, there's just tons of money out there in the world, because we're like, print money, print money, print money, send it to everybody. Money's getting spent. Interest rate to borrow money 0% or 1%. You see people dusting off their mortgages that were like 2.1% mortgages from 2021. And so everything's going up. And then then when it gets bearish, everything's going down. It's tough to find a safe place in a market like 2022 was. It tend to be, to me, it's like a lot of individual things get discredited when it's much more driven by the macro. And if you're always in the market, always looking, always adding things, the biggest thing I think I've learned, and I would advise people, is just don't end up all in at one moment in time. Just keep some cash on the side, have your stuff that you're investing in, collecting, but also keep cash on the side, because no one can time the market. If you could, you'd be like a multi-billionaire. You can't time the market. It's not possible. If it was possible, we'd all be very rich.
Yeah. Some words of advice from Matt to everybody. Love that. But Matt, you talked about the casino, the sports book. You talked about Rainmakers. What do you guys have in store? I know you're always looking forward to the future. 5 years down the road, a little bit more than that. Is there something specific that you guys are working on that you would really like to add to the value of, your consumers? And, something that I think would be a really cool idea is, in between intermission, at the Celtics game, they got to put some DraftKings booths right over there so I can go in between and place a live bet.
Yeah, there's so many areas that we're trying to improve, but to keep it very simple, we're investing in our user experience in all forms right now. So if you work in our technology team, it's like, what are the 10 things about, our current platform that are causing the most like friction for people using it, or the most customer service complaints or whatever, like trying to just fix bad experiences, improve experiences that are very common that people go through. All of it with the idea of like, we want to be able to talk to players on DraftKings and they say like, it's an amazing experience, a great product. If something ever goes wrong, it gets handled really quickly. Like the idea for us is invest in the things that drive customer satisfaction, customer experience to be better. So that's almost everything that we're doing. And then there's a little bit of a bucket of just because everything we do is regulated. It's in like a regulated space. We're just constantly hardening everything we do on the infrastructure side to make sure that DraftKings and the way we operate is totally infallible. Like we never want to run into situations where we're either like out of compliance with something, or the way that we're operating is not like thumbs up in the eyes of the regulators or something like that. So we're constantly just hardening every single process that is essential to that and making those better and better. But that's the gist of it. It's actually not that complicated because we have such a clear view of who our customer is. All we really ever have to do is talk to our customer and we get back more than enough info, more than enough about what we should be working on.
That's awesome. And I know it always takes, a great team to have success. And I know that you're surrounded by great, individuals and team members that help make up and represent DraftKings. But fantasy football in season-long formats was a little hectic with the way everything finished out with the Bills and the Bengals. So technically, I guess I'm a co-champion, but I'd like to deem myself as champion. I was in first place all year. Had a really good team. Pat Mahomes was my quarterback and things like that. But I've had so many ups and downs with fantasy football, just specifically, since the Sandbox. That's what we talk about, on a consistent basis when football season's going on. And a couple of years ago, I got burned. I had Antonio Brown when he went to the Raiders and he froze his feet. So I was like, every single year it is always, so different when it comes to that in the offseason that the players have. We see you sitting courtside. We talked about that, a little bit earlier. What was the most memorable Celtics game that you've attended?
Oh my God. I mean, first off, I think the biggest eye-opener for me was how, like, NBA, you're way closer to the game than any other sport. You can't get the type of access to be, like, in the middle of the action the way you can in NBA, in any other sport. And I've, like, sat in similar places, football games and baseball, even, like, boxing or UFC, where you, like, feel like it's supposed to be like that, but nothing is quite as intimate. And yeah, first thing I noticed is people just tend to be players. I mean, they're typically like kind of young in their career. They're just coming up. A lot of the time it's maybe like the players 20, 21, 22. They're in the market for stuff like fashion, jewelry, whatever. So the thing I've noticed the most is that people will just kind of like point out little things like, I like your shoes, or what kind of watch is that, or whatever. And you end up in these little like conversations because they're looking for a watch right now, or they're looking for something. So I was like, damn, this is crazy how close you end up to being like in the action.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's almost like everyone's in the game. And so, yeah, I started thinking I actually matter a lot in the game. I'm like probably worth half a point. I'm worth half of a point, I think, because we can just move the needle a little bit. I would say like most memorable, I've had some nice little like needling chats with Steph Curry during the finals. One that backfired was I told him he needed like 54 points to win because it was game 4. Or wait, it was yeah, it was game 4. Like, they needed to win in Boston, basically, was the scenario. And we were up 2-1. And, yeah, I'm like, you're going to need 54 tonight. And he's like, I'm trying. I'm trying. You know, um, the whole Draymond Green stuff too is kind of wild. Like people were really letting him have it, and it was different than the Kyrie energy, which Kyrie Irving got like some really negative energy, but that had a lot of history and everything. Whereas the Draymond thing was much more just everybody attacking him.
Yeah.
So and he just I guess loves being the villain. So
Yeah.
it was kind of fun, like being literally right next to Draymond, more or less, like in the timeouts and stuff.
Mhm.
And yeah, there was one moment where, yeah, we were just kind of letting all of them have it. We were like letting Klay Thompson have it for his complaints in the press conferences, just calling him a baby and a whiner and all this stuff. Um, I had Dave Portnoy come sit next to me from across the thing because he was in the news just saying that Draymond. So we were trying to just like get in Draymond's head on Game 4, and I've never been thrown out of a basketball game, but that was probably like about as close as you can
Closest.
come. It's like, you guys should really just enjoy your seats and be quiet.
Oh shit! Oh shit!
It's the finals. I mean, that's my finals too. I'm playing in the game as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, that's really funny. I wasn't sitting courtside. I was at the finals game. I took my girlfriend. Her birthday was on June 16th, so it ended up being one of the same days that the final was on. So it was really fun to be there. But I will say, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond don't need any extra motivation to put up 54 points. But obviously, having that interaction to talk that smack, I would do the same thing too. But I would probably get excused from courtside a little bit quicker than you would for saying some things. But no, that's really unique, and I'm sure you're experiencing that on a nightly basis when you're going to those games, right? And some of those conversations could be as friendly as you said with the watch, the sneakers, and I'm sure some people recognize you for DraftKings, so they got some things to say about that too. But
I will say one thing about it too. I noticed is the other teams around. You notice the people that support the Celtics, and everyone kind of support each other, but some more than others. And I noticed for sure there was like Damian Harris. Pasta's been at a bunch of games.
Yep.
You see like Mac Jones. Oh, I miss Chase Winovich a lot. He's not with us anymore. Right. Kyle Van Noy as well, like at the games. These guys would really get into it. Like they were really, really, they cared. They wanted to be like super fans. And I always thought that was cool to see people around like showing up for the other teams. So, I learned a lot, I think, about that. And you always run into interesting people as well. Like you mentioned, what was the one? CJ Stroud the other day. Yeah. So CJ Stroud was randomly just at the game, sitting directly next to me. So we
nice.
talked, what are you hoping for happens in the draft this year, man? And he's like, I think I'll be in the top 3. And then I pulled up the DraftKings Sportsbook, and I'm like, well, you're plus 325 right now, so that means you're like the
Hammer it.
Hammer it? Yeah, I give you the info, man. And yeah, a couple days later, he was in the headline, and it was like there was a trade for the first pick, and his odds went to number 1. And I don't know, it's crazy. Like some of the stuff you just run into, like people that are really, really big in culture, music, fashion, whatever, you name it, are all there. So it's a good place to be.
No, it definitely is. And I would have definitely hammered that too, Matt, especially when you're getting the insight from him. He was fresh out of the scouting combine, thought it was really cool. They were getting really competitive. Him and Anthony Richardson were making the throws, absolutely taking advantage of every single rep, and I do think he'll be the number 1 quarterback. We'll do mock drafts once we get a little bit closer to April, but it is really exciting to see the next generation of superstars in the NFL, and being able to see him in Boston with somebody like you is really cool.
Yeah, he's great. I mean, I think he's going to do well. He was very memorable in terms of like athletes that I've ever met. He's very, very solid. Like I think his work ethic came across as like to an extreme level, the desire to be perfect, the like way that he takes care of himself and invests in him. Like he's not out there like, he's not doing stuff that's going to undermine his performance at all. Mindfully, he's thinking about it like that. Like, I want to protect my body. I want to have a long career. I want to like work my ass off and be whatever the next Justin Fields, or I guess he overlapped a year with Justin Fields. Yeah, he's like, I want to be that next wave. So yeah, he came across super like, wow, this guy really could be him. We'll see.
Yeah. I hope he is him. I always love to see, greatness when, especially, while I'm watching sports. A lot of people after seeing, Tom Brady being Boston fans for 25 plus years, seeing him, and then going to Tampa and things like that. It's always interesting to see, do people want to see continued success or greatness, in a Patrick Mahomes, or do they have that little animosity because they don't want, someone to one up? And I don't think there's anybody that'll come close to Tom Brady, just yet. Obviously, having 7 Super Bowls and the success that he's had over his career has been, absolutely tremendous. And, it's hard to make those comparisons, but, sports fans, like you mentioned earlier, Matt, are very demanding. So what I want to get into next, obviously I talked about fantasy football a little bit. You have so much experience in fantasy sports. Do you have one memorable fantasy pick that was just like, oh man, that might have been the worst fantasy pick I've made?
Let's see. I guess like the dagger for me this year was definitely Cooper Kupp instead of Justin Jefferson with the third pick was a bit of a miss. Excuse me. It started off fine, but that didn't go so well. But I don't know if I'd consider that to be a bad pick. I'd say I'd have to go back to like Michael Urlacher first overall in an IDP league in college just for fun. Probably like the stupidest pick I ever made. And on the pure, I don't think I've ever actually gotten lucky. Everything I do is obviously pure skill. So never with me my picks and only unlucky. Yeah.
Oh man, that's hilarious, Matt. That's awesome. So I have to say, you're attending all these Celtics games. You've seen a lot of history through the years, and I'm sure you were watching the Celtics before you were even sitting courtside. So I need to know your favorite current Celtic, and then all time, is definitely a different conversation. So your favorite current Celtic right now, and your all time Celtic.
Current favorite is Rob Williams. I think he's like very underrated in terms of his impact on the team. And
love that.
Because you watch how they're playing right now, and people are like, "Oh my God, the Celtics are." They had that stretch where they blew some leads, three leads in a row.
Yeah.
And people are like, "Oh my God, are the Celtics done for or whatever?" We didn't have like 4 people just because Jason Tatum's on the court. Jason Tatum's obviously like between
Superstar.
Him and Jaylen Brown are carrying a lot of the scoring weight, like half the scoring or whatever. Everybody matters a lot on that team, and it's much more clear why everyone matters than a lot of other teams in the NBA, to me at least. Mm-hmm. And the basic formula is like Rob Williams is the stopper on the inside who can just like, for whatever reason, he can just be wherever he needs to be consistently every time. Like he had this one play blocking, I can't remember who shot it, but he literally closed all the way out to the 3-point line, blocked the dude, and then like took it back for the layup. Like,
love that.
You don't see big men like that closing on the 3-point line, blocking and going down and scoring on the other end ever. It never happens.
No, you're right.
2 guys. He's always in the right place, super consistent, like 12 points, 12 rebounds, 1 assist or whatever. It's like he does the same stats every game, 3 blocks. Yeah, I'm like, how is he just such a robot in there? He's just perfect. He plays perfectly. And then, yeah, I always love the energy from Jaylen Brown's like big plays too. I feel like the most exciting plays are typically like Jaylen Brown, some kind of like drive and insane finish. Like he's just very, very exciting to watch for me. So I love him.
Yeah, he had a really exciting dunk to start the Rockets game the other day, and I think you hit the nail on the head with Rob Will, right? This is a player that changes the momentum of games, gives us that block shot ability, underneath the rim, on the block. And, on offense, I feel like all it takes is a single lob, and this dude can really change the game with the energy and how impactful he really is. But, you mentioned the 12-12-1. I'm going to have to hit the under on the assist and the automatic double-double on Rob Will the next time he's active. And any single time that you want to put 55 points for Tatum and Brown, I'll be hammering that on DraftKings too.
Yeah, the combined over. Yeah. You're good. It's funny though, like everybody on the team can shoot. I feel like they really did a great job building a team where I didn't even see it coming with Al Horford being one of the league leaders from 3. I did see the Brogdon thing. I thought they were going to be leaning up much more on like Sam Hauser to be the 3-point guy, and then those guys would be more of a mix. But no, it's actually just everybody's the best 3-point shooter in the league on the team.
It
No, it's
really
like,
is.
yeah, it's kind of crazy to think about because I would comp Marcus Smart to maybe somebody like Jalen Brunson or something. Like
Okay.
like we don't want him shooting that much for some
Yeah.
reason. You actually, the fans get a little bit worked up if Marcus starts like shooting the ball too much. They're like, move the ball, do your defense thing, bring the energy, don't shoot too much. We like him in the overtime.
Yeah.
But
Right.
yeah, it's crazy because everyone else is just such good shooters. He's like a great all around player, and they're like, don't shoot too much, man. Like, make sure you pass.
Yeah. It's
It's
crazy.
such a crazy thing.
Yeah.
Brogdon, like league leader in 3-pointing. Like, I don't know. We have a lot of places where we can go for production, so I feel good, really good.
Yeah, I'm hoping it brings us, a championship, right? Like you mentioned, Brogdon. We have the production from Derek White, who's been, elite. And obviously, I think it's crazy the performance we're getting from Al Horford. I mean, when he left the Celtics a couple years ago, to go to the 76ers and then to OKC, people were like, oh, he's not playing for OKC. Like, is his career like coming to an end? And then he's just rejuvenated coming to the Celtics. So I love having that leadership and that veteran experience from Al. And I think he's a perfect fit for what we do. And you love to see the guys like Al Horford and Lopez for the Bucks, who kind of evolved their game to still stay relevant in today's basketball.
Yeah, the game is like very efficiency, very. I've come to appreciate much more how scientific it is, how math it is, and efficiency driven. Like when you see people taking garbage long two shots and stuff, and you're like, it's almost hard to watch a lot of teams that are not as sharp on the execution after watching the Celtics because they're just so consistently not perfect. Like they mess a lot of shit up, but like of every team I've seen, it's like consistently really great execution 90% of the possessions. Like they get good shots, move the ball, somebody's getting an open three, their toe is going to be like on the line
Yeah.
with a clean look, or it's going to the rim. You're not seeing like 18-foot contested jumpers from the Celtics or something, or like fade away, like no dumb stuff at all. It's
No, you're
it's
right.
really, really precise. And I think a lot of it come down to discipline and just the team being together, the coaching kind of all being in the same headspace. Yeah, really cool to see. The execution is like impeccable, I think.
No, I think so too. And I think it's unique to see how like the style of basketball has changed. You definitely see teams, being a little bit more open, pulling, the threes a lot more. And I think the Celtics did a great job of catering their team to, that skill set and just kind of being ready to be up tempo. Like we can attack the rack if we need to. Jaylen Brown's great at driving and Jason Tatum is too. But if we need a three from like we talked about all those guards or Horford or Hauser, they can provide it. But Matt, we were talking about the current Celtics. You have a favorite all-time Celtic?
I like a lot of the Celtics. I think growing up, I was a little on the younger side for the Larry Bird kind of like awesomeness. I wish I got to see more of that because it was the Larry Bird thing, and then it was kind of tough, and then we had the dream. We had the '08 championship team, couple years there that were nice, and then it was tough again. So I guess like Paul Pierce, I remember super well just because like I've seen so many games of Paul Pierce, like the with like Antoine Walker and that kind of crew. Hard to not appreciate Paul Pierce and like the impact he's had on the city and even the impact he still has to this day. Like he shows up, he's like supporting the team, trying to make the team and the culture great. So I think I'd probably have to say Paul Pierce, and then hopefully that answer changes to, after we go on like a dynasty run.
Yeah.
It will likely change to be Tatum is my favorite or something.
Right.
We'll see.
Right. No, absolutely. I'm with you. I always, appreciated the truth. And when you get that type of nickname, you have that presence and, you're loved like the way Paul Pierce was in Boston and then, bringing KG over here and just seeing, how those two mesh. And now they're stopping by the practice facilities. They're having these conversations with Tatum and Brown. It's really cool as a Celtics fan because you want the current Celtics to get that experience and that wisdom from guys that actually did it. But I feel like, the Celtics have a definitely different reputation now than what we had in that time from like 06 to 16 because, we had success for 3-4 4 years, but then it was like outside of that, those 6 years, they were extremely hard to watch. Like you could have got balcony seats for like $25. You can't get that nowadays.
Yeah. Yeah, it was rough. I mean, I think we got bailed out by the Patriots just being so good for so long.
Right.
And if we didn't have that, it would have been a pretty sad place to be. I don't know. It was tough. The teams just weren't really like, it was hard for me to even get engaged with some of the teams that we had out there. Not because the people weren't like interesting, but it just never felt like the team was that competitive. So I don't really love sitting there and watching a team that I think has zero chance, you know?
Of being successful. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. So, you just touched on Larry Bird a little bit, just talking about some of the all-time greats that have happened. And the Celtics and the Lakers obviously have, a tremendous rivalry dating back to way back when. If you could choose to have the career of either Magic Johnson or Larry Bird, who are you choosing and why?
Oh my God.
Love that.
I don't know. See, one of my favorite cards is like the joint Magic Bird rookie, which I think it's like the best basketball card you can get, in my opinion. Or at least it's like the most important of the hobby, in my view. And I always thought of them like, why pick one when I could just have both on one card? And they seem pretty. It was like Coke and Pepsi of the era to me. Like they were, if one wasn't the MVP, the other one was. A lot of the time, and like if one wasn't winning the title, the other one was, and they both seem to have gotten their fair share. I'm not sure it was lopsided, really. It was pretty balanced, I think, in terms of who gets the flowers for being like the best of all time in that era. So I don't know. I'm not sure that I even like would have a preference over the two. Both lives sound pretty good.
Yeah, no, absolutely, right? And both careers were extremely successful. I mean, these are guys that you're arguing right outside, or inside the top 5 of greatest players to ever step on a court. So that's all good. I know that's a really tough question. And look, you make either decision. Either one's great. So you take both of those careers. Matt, I have 2 more questions before we wrap up the episode, so I hope you're enjoying your experience. But we talked about the current Celtics. How far are the Celtics away from banner 18? Is it just the rest of the season?
Yeah, I don't think sports books are off by much typically in terms of real odds of stuff, and it's 3-1 basically. So I think we're the favorite, and probably have the best reason to believe that we could get it done. I think it'll be similar to last year where we have to get through the Bucks. And I don't know if you have a different take on this, but the way I was looking at it was we got to get through the Bucks, and then if we can beat them, then we're in the finals. And I don't think so anyone else really has a serious like I know people are talking a lot about the Knicks right now. They're talking a lot about some of the trades around the deadline that strengthen some of the teams in the West that we might see in the finals. But I don't know, in my head I was always thinking like it's going to be tough to win everything, but if we can get through the Bucks and get to the finals, we should be favorites in the finals.
Yeah. I think the only person that would say the Knicks right now would be your friend Gary V, but the Celtics.
Yeah.
You hear that enough?
Yeah, I think he he has a little too much confidence in how good of a team they are right now because they won like 4 games in a row. Yeah. Like, this is a game. I know you can get lucky in the playoffs, and sometimes teams do get lucky and they go on a crazy run, but they're in a run in February. So it's like nobody's winning the championship in February.
Now, yeah.
Let's see how March and April and May go, and then we'll talk.
Yeah, absolutely.
We don't have the track record to be talking, in my opinion. They have beat our ass like 3 times this season, and it's been very hard to watch. And I understand why there's talking going on from the Knicks fans, but I don't think that they've done enough to prove that they're like really in that conversation, in my opinion.
No, definitely not in the contender category. I'm sure he'll be excited about the Aaron Rodgers news, depending on how he feels. I know he's a big Jets fan. What I will say is the Bucks. Yeah, we definitely have to get through them. Giannis is definitely one of the better players, in the entire NBA. And I do think the 76ers are getting a little hot, but I like our odds against them because it seems to me that we always have their number. I was gonna ask you, if you think the Durant trade impacts, any of that, because I saw, the Suns' final odds were a little bit different after he went there, but I still think, with the the depth that the Celtics have and our experience of last year, having the best duo in the NBA, in my opinion, in Tatum and Brown. And I feel like the biggest question for the Celtics this year was, is that going to be a successful coaching change? And Mazzulla has definitely, came in and showed up. And with the Celtics being as successful as we are right now, yeah, we're on a little bit of a skid, but that game versus the Rockets, that's just a mishap. We're gonna bounce back tonight versus the Timberwolves right on the road. So hoping that continues the success for the rest of the season.
Yeah, right on. I saw. I think it was actually the first game after Sportsbook launched in Mass. We were laying 13 or something to Houston and just lost outright.
Yeah.
I was looking at the number and it was minus 800 or something. The money line was minus 800 or minus 900 Celtics. So that was a pretty tough one. I feel bad for definitely, one thing people love to do in the sports book is you take the big favorite parlay where it's like minus 900, minus 700, all the teams that could never lose in a million years. And somehow one of them loses all.
Loses,
all the time.
So it messes up a big parlay.
Everyone got wrecked on that, I'm sure. But then, they definitely came back and a little bit of a better effort on game 2. So we'll see.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, Matt, my last question to you. We talked about a bunch of different sports here. We talked a little bit about hockey, mainly about basketball and football. If you had to say your GOAT, right? If you had to say, go for basketball or go for football, you can pick one in all the entire sports industry. Who's your GOAT, your greatest of all time?
I don't know. I take those questions pretty literally. So I always looked at it like LeBron is definitely the GOAT in basketball. Really hard to come up with any argument that he's not.
For sure.
Where do I have conviction here? Wayne Gretzky would definitely be a conviction. Just like in terms of somebody way better than everyone else at the time that they played. And you're just like, that person's just way better. Like, that seems pretty solid to me. And then, in the other lanes, I don't know if I have so much conviction about who the GOAT is, like baseball-wise or whatever. Ohtani's kind of a cool prospect there, though. I like how Ohtani's just like taken over and just decided that he's going to be awesome at everything and
change the game.
Totally change the game. And I think if that were to persist for a while, it'd be kind of an interesting case for just like both ways impact on the game and stuff. So maybe I'll like keep an eye out on that. But I don't know. I mean, there's so many great football players. I definitely am not in the camp like it's black and white that Tom Brady is the GOAT of football. And I think he's like probably the closest thing to it. But I don't know. There's been a lot of really great football players, and it's also like one of those where the quarterback gets a lot of credit. I think it's not like basketball where anyone in any position could be the best, right?
100%.
You're pretty much immediately saying only a quarterback could be in the discussion for a lot of people, and I don't really buy that. So I don't know.
No, listen, I love that being a little different with your takes, and the quarterback gets way too much love. You see the guys in the trenches that sitting there making Tom Brady look pretty for 22 years, right? You got the guys rushing after him. Obviously, you could talk about a Lawrence Taylor, who's one of the greater pass rushers of all time. But Matt,
like Jerry Rice or something. Like, what's the best argument for Jerry Rice not being better than any quarterback in the positions like wide receiver where it's kind of skill driven and it's much harder to replace a great wide receiver than a running back, for example. So it's like you'd probably have a tough time saying Barry Sanders or something, but I'm not sure about Jerry Rice. Maybe it's an interesting debate for sure.
Yeah, no, and I think, with Jerry Rice, I mean, the longevity of the success that he's had over his career is definitely something to help, that argument. So I don't, disagree with that take at all. But, Matt, I'd like this moment to open up the floor and just, let you share your thoughts with any Since the Sandbox community person or someone that's looking to, join DraftKings.
Yeah, really grateful first that you had me on. Appreciate the chat, and it was fun. Hope we can do this again, maybe something around the playoffs or whatever. Just catch up again. This was great. I know right now is pretty heads down time at DraftKings for sure. Like, we are just trying to give everybody a great experience, and we have lots and lots of people who are coming on, whether it was people who signed up for the Super Bowl, the Massachusetts launch. Just before that, we launched in Oregon, we launched in Ohio, we launched in Maryland. Like, lot of new people on the platform. We're just super focused on giving everybody a great experience, making sure that everything's working properly, that the rewards are the best. That's like all of my focus right now. So would really appreciate anybody's feedback on how they think we're doing, anything that they'd like to see differently. I'm always checking. Our whole company has this culture, but even personally, I'm always on, whether it's Twitter, social media, Discord. Like, I'm always reading up on the latest feedback about the latest thing that we have going on, trying to make things better for the future. So, like, please keep the feedback coming, and really appreciate everything that's coming so far.
For sure, and I'll definitely keep that in mind for my friends in my DraftKings betting group and everything like that. But I'm really happy that you had a great time, Matt. And I got to say, I love everything that DraftKings is doing, and you telling me that you want to come back on during playoffs definitely makes me, really excited. So I'm glad that you enjoyed your experience. Since the Sandbox fans, make sure you guys go to DraftKings right now and go placing your bets. The #1 sports betting platform for Massachusetts, and in my opinion, a biased opinion, in the United States. So make sure you guys check this episode out on your favorite podcast platform, on YouTube, and make sure to show some love on Instagram. You guys know the deal. Peace, love, and 5 stars. Nothing less.